Another thing that you may not be aware of that Boxlight also puts on is we do what is called STEM Wednesday. So if you want to join us weekly, every Wednesday we host 20-minute learning sessions for educators, administrators, anybody that wants to learn more about anything STEM related, topics like 3D printing, robotics, science, and more. We have special guests all the time and also incredible ways that you can start doing more STEM in your school or district. So check out our STEM Wednesdays every Wednesday, 4 o'clock Eastern time. We didn't have one today because we are having this event, but check that out. And then we have our final two sessions before our keynote speaker. We have Jojo talking about incentivizing STEM. And then we have Shelly, who is talking about print and paint, creating art with 3D technology.
So I didn't get a chance to see the rest of the sessions. Which one is y'all's favorite? If y'all can put that in the chat so I can check that out while we wait for this to load up. Hard to choose. The drones. I did get to see that. Like I got to see the description. That looks super cool. Hard to choose. Isn't there like you got a top two, maybe a top three? The Jones session. Okay, okay.
Are you having issues or are you good to go?
Yes, this PowerPoint thing is not opening for me, so I don't know why it was working perfect.
Comments continuing to come in the chat. I also liked 3D session. I want one of those printers.
3D, okay. I'll be talking about that a little bit too, my experience with that. So hopefully I can commit to even more to get a 3D printer because they're super fun.
If you're still struggling with that, you are welcome to try and email it to me and I could share my screen while you go if that may work easier.
Yes. Let me send that to you.
Now, as some hype while we're getting the technical issues sorted out here, I have seen Jojo in action. He lives about an hour from where I am, and I got to go visit him while he was doing some robotics activities with his students. And I know you also use the 3D printer, so I would say just start talking as much as you can, and I'll get that presentation up here as soon as it comes into my email.
So first things first, my name is Joseph Ortega, but I go by Jojo. I am in Colorado currently, and the program that I will be talking about was my previous job, which was with Denver Public Schools. And with that, we were teaching middle school students about different career opportunities, mostly focused on STEM, trying to show students what is really out there at middle school. We found it that the earlier they start, the better. Just because I know when I was in high school, I was freaking out about what it is I wanted to do. Currently, I work at a different organization called Inspire, which we primarily focus more so on helping students in high school this time. Okay, awesome. So in general, my goal in life has always been to provide resources and opportunities for communities, for my community, because there wasn't a lot of STEM growing up in the high school that I grew up in. So that's why I decided to join the jobs that I did now. So with that as well, I will be talking more so about my experience, the things that I did that helped me not only implement STEM. By no means was I a STEM major before this. I had no clue how to code. I had no clue how to use a 3D printer. I was really scared on doing any of that. But thankfully, through my previous job, I was able to have an opportunity to get training from Mimeo STEM on how to use both. And with that training, I felt really comfortable, as well as I failed a lot and I learned from that way. And that's what I'll be talking about more so of those two products. So yeah, why is it important for students to involve themselves in STEM? If y'all want to put that in the chat, there is no right or wrong answer. I just want to see more so of what y'all were thinking.
Well, for my part, since I don't have to type in the chat, I found that for me, I fell away from science really early on. I started disliking it in elementary school and never really came back to liking it until I was in this current job. So for me, finding ways to make STEM interesting and exciting really could have changed how I felt that I was comfortable with STEM and how I would have enjoyed that. So I think it's really important to create those exciting learning experiences so you don't lose people like me.
That is very true. I think when I was growing up too, STEM kind of scared me away. And I was just like, that's not for me. I'm not the type of science person. And even with math too. In the chat, it looks like people say STEM problem solving can be applied to many aspects of life. Very true, actually. I always teach my students now that the ones especially, they're like, when am I ever going to use this? And I have to bring out ideas with them. It helps with critical thinking and skills and makes better problem solvers. Like I said, and in this photo, we started learning more so about coding. I've never done coding in my life or how to program the robot, and even building the robot. I failed so many times and it became very hard. But what helped with the students was we started to learn together what are some things that we decided to focus on. STEM is the future, and that's what my previous job focused on. It's out there, and we want students to be able to know that those options are out for them. Again, with problem solving and plus calibration. So yeah, so basically that I also want to say it does help with gaps of math and science that students may have. Just like Hannah explained her story and even my story. I wasn't the greatest at math. If anything, I struggled so much. But with the help of a lot of STEM activities, it kind of filled in the gaps for me that a lot of the times the schools didn't help. Teamwork as well. In that photo, the students really had to, oh, perfect. So we're at the benefits of STEM. That's me. Cool. So it can also inspire young entrepreneurs to think innovatively. So I would talk a little bit more so about what I did with young entrepreneurs to inspire them, but it helps them think more so of what are the different ways that they can not only increase their future business, but what can they be doing now to get closer to that. And again, hard skills such as critical thinking and technology applications. If we want to change slides. So think back to when you were in school. Was that something that you were interested in? Why or why not? And you can go ahead and put that in the chat. I did always love math. Okay. Okay, Hannah, I couldn't agree with you. I definitely did not like math growing up because it wasn't presented. Yep. Okay. It wasn't presented to us. I agree. Any other answers? I like to take things apart and build things so it seemed like a natural fit. Was good at STEM. That's a different story. I only enjoyed science when it was hands-on and a lot of mesmerization for me. So yeah, so with that, we can change to the next slide, but there are some people that do enjoy more so of that, right? I think when we think about STEM, as students, there are some students that really enjoy it in the hands-on. For students like me growing up, we didn't really have a good STEM program. So I felt like STEM wasn't for me, right? And it was only because teachers didn't really integrate it into the things, right? A lot of the times too, it was the excuse that we didn't have any room, right? And there was more so of like we didn't have the technology or we couldn't figure out how to integrate STEM and everything. And that's where I'll talk a little bit more about what I kind of did more so on that. If we want to change the next slide, Hannah. Cool. So going more into what we did. So using STEM as a glue for curriculum. So a lot of the times, like I said, it doesn't have to be so STEM specific. When I was doing it and creating curriculum, I used a lot of the 3D printer, right? So what I would do for curriculums is that hands-on piece that a lot of y'all touched on, which is printing out a 3D model of any terrain, right? Like a place or a building for students. So while you're giving a presentation, the students have something they can look at. And you can even print one to where whoever make it into the competition to whoever passes the test or answers most question, you can give that 3D model to him. So then they can start to look more into it in that way. There's building blocks that we used doing the 3D printer where we're able to help understand terms, right? Especially like in math or even in reading. We even had students create things on Tinkercad if we didn't have the 3D printer at the time, which is a great resource if you haven't learned more into it. It's more so of that 3D model. And there's a lot of stuff that we did even with music. I created rhythm sticks out of the 3D printer, and we were able to implement that. And even using the coding for the robots to help with math. If we change the next slide, we can see a little bit more so of the things that we printed out for curriculums. So again, so this is what we did for one of our engineering classes. And we even bring in a professional speaker that was doing engineering. We printed out boats and sailings, and we learned more so about how the different sizes of the boats and the different sails made it go faster. Right here, right? This implemented that hands-on activity. And again, back to the robots, we learned more so about perimeter area based on how we would get to one destination to the other. And then we would use math to figure out what distance we would have to do. That's more so of that. If we want to change slides, we're zipping through it just so I can make sure that if y'all have questions, we can do that. But another thing that we used STEM was increasing school culture and community. I felt like what makes a school really strong is the culture and the community. And what helped me and helped my organization get more implemented in the schools was we created competition events between the different grade levels. So working in middle school, we did the 6th grade versus the 8th grade, or sometimes it'd be the 8th grade against the 7th grade. And we would design something that represented each of the grades. They would have time to create it on Tinkercad, and whoever we believed and even the school believed was the best, we would print it out for them. Again, just to show them that what 3D is, expose them to that, and even be able to take that back to their own families. We even allow students to design things to help their community out. A lot of the times we worked up with elementary schools too. And one of the things that helped out a lot was giving them materials such as you could print out a pencil holder, you could print out bookmarks, you could even print out just something that can get the students more in it, which was we did one of these bubble things with their names on it and things like that. We also created objects that was more so of that represented that community. What is it something that the students wanted to see, such as a mascot or something that represented? I know when I was growing into high school, one of the great things that made me feel more comfortable in my class was having a class pet. Unfortunately, as educators, it's really hard to have that class pet and the responsibility of that. So the 3D printer kind of takes that away, but as well as allows the students to feel like they implemented something and can take something out of it. With the next slide, I have some of the ideas of the things that we would print. Not exactly of the ones we didn't get time to print, but these are some of the ideas that we would give to elementary schools that some of the middle schoolers would be able to not only create, but have the ability to print in as well. Going on to the next slide. This one, something that represented them. Last time we let them do name tags or keychains, but one of the things that we allowed students that did really well in our was print out a logo, a business logo for themselves. We had a lot of young entrepreneurs in our class, and we decided to give them the opportunity for help students understand why STEM is important is through their families. I think a lot of the times we forget about implementing it with families and taking these away and taking them home. The students able to describe their excitement to their family, and now their family is more so in with them on what STEM is and supporting them in that way. I think more so of rewards too allows the students to not only feel like they have more motivation to do better, but also, like I said, it's just that idea of, hey, you know, like you're being rewarded for doing something that you're supposed to, and you can now take it home. And that idea of taking it home is super huge, especially at the younger ages that I worked with. And if you change the slide, here are some of the logos that some of the students got to make. One of them was for a gaming company that they're gonna hope to do, which was Playbox. They got to design this all in Tinkercad. I gave them the ability to choose their colors and be able to have all the freedom in that. There were some guidelines because as middle school students, everyone wants to put a skull or a random sword just to have it. But from the ones, these are the ones. And Roadrunners was for a future soccer team that a student would hope to do. I kind of told them that that's kind of taken with Metro, but I told them that this company is very huge, that this idea of this soccer team is very huge and that they should continue it. And now they carry this logo, each one of them, in their little backpacks for keychains and stuff. So that was a great opportunity seeing that for them. Yes, and Hannah, thank you for putting that link in and describing a little bit more on what Tinkercad does. Overall, like I said, STEM is, as y'all said, is everywhere. And I believe as educators, it is very important not only to support students through that, but also even just implement it in our curriculum. For those students who do need more of that hands-on, for the students that need a little bit more motivation to things, and for that, because that can be really scary, especially if you have no experience in it, especially if for students that don't know everything, but there are ways and there are different ways to do it, even if you don't have the technology of it. But if you do, I highly encourage that. Like I said, even with the Tinkercad, you can create 3D models for students to see while you're talking, to keep them engaged. I think incentivizing STEM instead of making it seem what the misconceptions are can help students a lot more feel more comfortable taking more classes of that, or even just looking it out. Because a lot of times what helps more is just being able to see that and seeing that you guys can try it takes it very huge for students. With that, I'm gonna leave the chat open for messages, for any questions that y'all have. If there's something that I said that you wanted to talk more about, that would be, I'm here for that as well. With the robotics too, what it felt like and what the coding kind of looked like as well.
I would love if you could share some of you mentioned a little bit about failing with the robots and with the code and how you turn that into a learning experience. I know failing forward is something we emphasize at Mimeo STEM, and so I just love sort of your take on that and how you approach new technology and learned from, with your students as you started getting familiar with it.
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated from college with psychology degree. So nothing to do with coding, nothing to do with engineering, nothing with building. When they gave us the robots, I followed the instructions, and I took me 2 or 3 hours to figure it out, more so because I kept messing up. And even when I would mess up, I would use that as more so of, okay, now at least when I build the next robot, I know what to do. And that's more so of the building side. I didn't want the students to be discouraged with the building because it was kind of, we were working with middle schoolers. So I allowed them to do more so of the coding. The only directions I gave to the students when I came to the activity was, this is our destination. And this is how we can input, not only for the robot to go, but in what directions. And from there, I allow the students to try their best. Some of the times, the students will have the robot just fly straight off the mat. Other times, the robot wouldn't move. Other times, the robot would just do a 360. And the students, I allow the students to use that opportunity to learn what they did wrong, right? Maybe we put too much speed, or maybe we did too much rotation. That opportunity allowed the students to really critically think. And in that photo, they were finally able to do it. And they were able to, when I gave them another challenge, they knew what to do. And more so, I believe in more so of failing until we learn it. I think failure is a huge way of learning things. I don't think we ever learn if we do the things and are taught the right way, right? So I believe with the coding, that really helped the students understand more so of, okay, it's okay to fail, but what can we do from here on there? So that's kind of something I did with the robotics, and the students loved it. I loved it, and who knows, maybe in the future I go more into coding now. Cool. Is there any other questions on anything I said with the 3D printers, or even more so on the robotics?
I haven't seen anything else pop in to the chat. I really liked some of the things that people commented in the chat is loved your idea of giving small personalized things for, good behavior, high grades, whatever it is as an incentive, especially the personalized things. So that's a really nice takeaway I'm seeing in the chat. And let's see, Sophie says, failure. I had that exact chat with a student today who was in tears after he got his scores back from a math test with another teacher. Yeah, it's something like you said that it's so applicable to all of life. It's not just as coders, though Lord knows anyone here who's done coding knows how key an aspect failure is in that. But I think every single career, and I mean, your psychology background can talk to the importance of developing that kind of soft skill for students.
Yeah, and at the end, because it looks like it's wrapping up. STEM, although it can be like something scary, I think just showing that you're willing to try with the student, and even that failure aspect, as you said, it shows the students confidence in that way, and showing that it's okay to fail. And even with that, implementing that they have the opportunities, even if they don't feel like they have it. And that's why I love the reward aspect, because now they see this 3D printer. Next thing you know, they're watching YouTube videos, they're watching TikToks and things like that, and more so of that. So I hope at the end of it, you take away that there are opportunities that we can bring to our students, even if we don't have STEM backgrounds.
Love that. Jonathan just put in the chat, you teach, all caps, STEM with students, not to students. And that is absolutely
I agree.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing, and I think we're going to all get kicked back in just a few seconds to the main room.
And then I will queue you up. All right. For folks that were just joining us back from our breakout rooms, you didn't miss the keynote. You didn't miss the start of it. You were just catching up on some nerding out here. Before I turn it over to Scott, a few reminders here with our social media contest. There's 3 steps if you'd like to participate. First is your takeaway, including the session name, 15 words minimum of your biggest takeaway. I know we had 2 amazing sessions, so if you haven't posted yet, definitely time. Don't forget to include that hashtag #ReadySetNimioSTEM, and then of course tag us on either Instagram or Twitter or X, as it is now known. We will be selecting winners by November 9th. The deadline to submit these are November 7th. So if you just wanted to pay attention and just watch today, totally fine. And if you want to post later, that will also work. Remember, 3 winners will be chosen to choose from a 10-pack of PLA filament or 2 lab disc heart rate sensors, a MyBot floor mat of your choice for robotics, a Mimeo View document camera, a MySTEM Kids teacher plan, or a class set of either pre-printed sailboats or ball-bearing catapults. And then the grand prize, you will get to choose between a Robo E3 printer with 10 packs of plastic, a MySTEM Kids teacher plan, or a Lyric portable sound system